All right, guys. So a while ago, I covered a game called Voor De Kroon. If you don't know what this is a 13th century medieval game. It's got a strategy campaign layer and historical battles where you can fight with your army, control them, command who they're going to attack, where they're going, their formations, and actually fight in them in third-person battles as well. So recently, on the 4th of July, the developer released a brand new gameplay video, basically cuts of various aspects of the game, the campaign, the building aspect, the customization of weaponry and armor and, recruitment and the battles here, of course, as you can see. And what I want to do today basically is go through this video, give you my thoughts on how things look, how things have improved since the last time I played Voor De Kroon and made a video about it. And by the end, I think you'll understand, whether it's something you obviously want to buy and check out for yourself. I think you'll understand what I mean by it's an interesting combination of kind of like a Total War style strategy campaign, not quite, with Bannerlord style battles a little bit, but again, not quite. It's got its own kind of unique blend. So yeah, that's what we're gonna do today. Let's dive straight in.
Mijn heren, dood allemaal!
So we just saw him, the player, kind of make an order for the cavalry unit here to charge at the other enemy cavalry unit across the field, which, kind of gives you an idea of what I mean by third-person battles in which you're commanding your army, right? And it's very reminiscent of Bannerlord in terms of you're here, it's third person, you're going to engage in the battle, you're actually going to fight, and you can command your units as to what they want to do, what you want them to do, what formations you want them to be in, where you want them to go, how you want them to charge or be in a defensive mode and not engage in skirmish mode and all that, right? So all that is going on. It's really interesting. And again, it's a little bit Total War like as well, because obviously you've got all these units and you're fighting a big battle, right? Although I say that, but Voor De Kroon is still limited to 5-unit armies after all this time. I think that it's been 3 years of development, which is a little bit, I would say, disappointing. I think that especially with Bannerlord, you can get huge numbers of armies as well. I think that this is something that definitely needs to change for Voor De Kroon, having much larger battles of engagements with 10, 15, 20 unit armies, especially if you're like besieging a city and things like that, which you can do here as well. Okay, wow. Okay, so a few things. First of all, the game definitely looks better colored. When I first covered it, things were very, very gray, dark, gritty, brutal. This is medieval Europe, and there's constant war and suffering, and you felt like you were part of a world that was just not doing very well. It's colorless. When in reality, you go back in history and you read everything, you see the tapestries. It's a very vibrant, colorful world. So I like that he's kind of done away with a lot of that gray. He's added a bit more vibrancy, color here. The environment looks very beautiful. It's really kind of popped the game a little bit for me, which looks really good. The kind of armor that you're seeing here on the units themselves, the horse, the cavalry, also the flower bed, the green of the grass and the trees, the blue of the skybox, like all that comes through a lot more nicely here versus the original coverage I made for the game over a year ago. So that's a huge improvement for me. The second thing is the soundscape. I mean, he's definitely done a lot of really nice work for sound effects, the hoofs hitting the ground, the charging kind of battle cries, the clashing of bodies and horses together. That was really immersive, really interesting, and impressive, actually. I really, really like that. So yeah, lots of really cool stuff there. From a gameplay perspective, I would say animations are very fast, first and foremost. They look a bit better from a horse kind of charging horse movement perspective. I think when I first covered it, animations were very clunky and mechanical, which I didn't really like. But here, things are a little bit more fluid, a bit more dynamic, which I like. It's going in the right direction. But like I said, I think it's a bit fast. I think that cavalry engagements could slow down slightly. And I think that, obviously you charge into a cavalry unit, you're going to go out the other side, a few people at least, but I would have a bit more charging and, clashing and sort of like stopping in the middle to fight a bit, because a lot of these people are just kind of charging and they just continue charging out and they have to turn around. And while that has a bit of realism in it, I think it adds to that really high pace of the battle, which I'm not totally sure of. I'm also not a massive fan of this officer killed message in the middle here of the screen. It's a little bit immersion breaking. I would have it as like a pop up on the corner, or maybe a voice that says the enemy officer has been killed, or something like that. The other thing is I feel like as a player you're a little bit on God mode. The pace is a little bit fast, and you kind of combine that with your power of being able to just hit someone and this guy goes kind of all over the place and dies, is a little bit immersion breaking for me again as well. It's kind of clunky, a bit mechanical. I think the player is a little bit overpowered with what he can do and how easily he can just hit someone and they kind of get knocked off. So that's another kind of little bit of feedback. I would say that things need to be slowed down a little bit, and the player may be kind of nerfed in terms of how powerful he can be versus the enemy. So this is cool. Well, we're seeing a siege here. The keep looks absolutely beautiful. I think graphically, the game looks absolutely stunning. So that's a huge bonus for me. I really like high fidelity, realistic graphics in games like this. Bannerlord is a little bit in between for me. I think it is a bit realistic, but it also there are aspects of it that I'm not super a big fan of. Whereas here, just from the outset, looking at some of these images and the video and some of these scenes and settings, it looks really, it's a lot. It's reminiscent of Kingdom Come Deliverance and Kingdom Come Deliverance 2. Which I'm a huge fan of. So I really like what's going on here. The barricades, the crossbowmen, like there's some really good stuff here. Some good water sound effects. So you have these slow-mo kill animations, which are quite cool. Again, though, I feel like if the pace is really fast, you need to have that slow-mo aspect, right? Whereas if you slow down the pace a little bit, I don't think you really need that slow-mo. I think the slow-mo, again, can be a little bit immersion breaking. So I would have the pace of the combat slowed down by like 20-30%, and you have that sort of interesting, engaging animations weaved in between, right? You don't really need that slow-mo in these kinds of animations, in my opinion, anyway. Yeah, cavalry is just way too fast. I think the flag waving in the air, the wind animation is not quite there yet either, a little bit clunky. Some of these combat animations aren't quite there yet either. They definitely look better from the last time I covered it, but some of them are not quite there. I'm also trying to see how the AI actually plays. Like there are areas where I'm seeing the AI engage each other quite effectively, which is nice. But then there are other areas where they're being a little bit distant. They're not really fighting each other very much, which I'm not sure about. But let's see how it continues here. Yeah, I mean the cavalry animations in combat at least are not quite there yet either. They're just kind of like scrolling through, not quite galloping naturally, looking very dynamic when they're stationary either. It looks like he's worked a lot on charging and running animations just outside of combat, but within combat, I would say there are a few issues still to be resolved. And again, I'm just gonna say it one more time. I think that a lot of them can be resolved if combat is slowed down. If you slow it down enough, and movement enough, and combat like fighting and animations enough, I think you'll find it can get a little less clunky, a little less lightning speed here. And then this is cool. So, as the player, you can actually take control of other soldiers. So, you can opt to, be a crossbowman like he's doing here and fire at the keep walls, or you could be a cavalryman and another unit and charge into some infantry, or you can be another swordsman or spearman. Like, you can be anyone essentially. You can take control of anyone, which is a feature here that I really, really like. I think it's something Bannerlord doesn't really need. Obviously, like Total War, you can't play third person, but having this option here to have different perspectives of how the battle is progressing, I think is very powerful, immersing the player essentially in what the battle is all about and how it's going from different perspectives. So I really, really like this feature. Also, I love the reload animations. That's really cool. The sound effects are quite good. Although there's not a lot of metal clanking in the crossbow, which I'm not a fan of. You've got that battering ram. Again, like, look at how powerful the player is. He's just knocking 3 of these AI soldiers out within seconds. He's just swinging his sword around, which is just a little bit, I don't know if it's the player being overpowered or if the AI is not reactive enough and like using his shield to block, like all of that. I'm not quite sure what is exactly happening. Maybe it's a bit of both, but combat definitely needs a bit of a look, I would say. I love the sound effects. It's so well done. The horn, there's a lot of fire animations. And then, yeah, so there are these arenas here where you can practice combat. I don't know. This feels like it's just a combat practice rather than something within the game that you can actually engage in your campaign. But it does look quite good. I quite like what I'm seeing here. And the AI does look a lot more reactive and challenging here versus in the middle of a battle. Yeah, like I said, I mean, like at least 90% of the cavalry units here just went through. None of them stopped. None of them, and the ones that obviously did stop get killed and fell over. But there should be some sort of like, these are lancers, I get it, but I think there should be a bit of like clashing combat in the middle. At some point where you've hit someone, you've lost your lance, and you take your sword out and you're fighting sword to sword on horseback. Like, some of that I think should be happening here as well. I mean, that guy dying right there is terrible animation to me. That it's just far too fast, far too fast. It definitely needs to slow down a lot, I would say. And then you can dismount, you can fight enemy infantry. I like that you can like hype up your soldiers there as well as you ride in front of them. That's quite cool. And then here we're having a look a bit at the campaign, right? So you won the Battle of Brussels. The settlement and its villagers are at your mercy. Occupy, raise, and plunder. So there again, like we're getting into the campaign here a bit. There's a lot of Total War kind of elements here that you can get involved with. You've got various units that you're fighting with, mounted sergeants, urban militia, urban crossbow. You actually, when you conquer a new town or village or city, you need to move. You're basically fighting from one city to another. It's not like movement across a campaign map and then sieging them. So you need to move some of these units to be a garrison in this new city that you've conquered. So that's kind of how it works, which again, is a little bit limiting. I think that it wouldn't be too difficult to implement traversable campaign terrain and have these individual, generals move from one city to another and represent that on the campaign at least. But he hasn't done that yet. And I think that, again, like we're very limited by the number of units here that we can fight with. So I would like seriously expect to see the number of units per army grow if this game really wants to be successful. So yeah, that's kind of what the campaign map looks like. Lots of towns and villages and keeps across the map. Little rivers in between, forests. You can see the little silhouette of like farmlands around this village. You've got the units kind of traversing over. You can engage in sieges, as you can see here. There's a general attacking and one defending. Obviously, you can lay siege yourself and get involved, or I think you can just let it happen on its own as well. I think. And the AI, I think that was the AI. The AI is actually obviously very active in its kind of conquering of the world as well. So yeah, and then we've got like a kind of a character view here for I think one of the generals, and their level, their attributes. You can give them missions and where they want to go, where you want them to go, what kind of units they should have, things like that. So there's also customization of their flag, their banner, their shield, their armor, their helmet even, and they have resources as well to be able to spend on these things too. So quite cool. I think it's a cool system in terms of how much you can customize your generals, which I like. Yeah, so you can order a custom sword. You can decide what kind of handle to get, or the length of the sword, the blade, or you can change from a sword to a mace or a club. Like there are lots of customization options for equipment as well that I quite like seeing. I would say that some medieval music would be good. There isn't a lot of music going on in the game, which I'm not a big fan of. There's this kind of ambient sort of eerie noise happening, which I like. Okay, cool. But I feel like you're adding a bit of vibrancy in the environments, the color. That's all really good. You should add a bit more vibrancy to your soundscape as well. I would say with some music, just music in a game, I think adds so much to it. Adds so much to the experience. So not having it here is a little bit of a drawback, I would say. And then yeah, like I said, you've got options in terms of you've got your yellow kind of lines here that connect various cities, and you can move garrisons and units from one city to the next. You can move them to an enemy city here and attack it. You've got units traversing between cities. This might be like a supply cart. You've got diplomacy options. You can manage your economy and all of that jazz. So there is a lot you can do in the campaign, but I do get the impression that it is a little bit limited in terms of within these mechanics, diplomacy, economy, etc. There's not a lot to do within them. So I'll give you an example here. So we've got this castle at Ghent, and he's got 3 possible buildings here to build. So 3 is quite limited. You've got 4 units that you can recruit, or yeah, right click to order a unit. So you've only got 4 units to recruit here. There's not a lot of depth at the moment. There's a lot of horizontal features and mechanics that have been developed quite nicely, I would say. The UI is interesting. I wish a little bit that there was a bit more of a medieval spin to the UI as well. But like I said, there's not a lot of depth at the moment. There needs to be a bit more work on replayability, variety in terms of within these mechanics, what you can do that isn't quite here yet. And then like this message just said, so there are other sort of events that can happen. You can get disease. You know, you do have to feed your nation. Supply, I think, is an important mechanic. You need to have a certain number of farms. So this kind of UI over here about supply and farm and food, that's something you need to keep an eye on. So there are, and you've got like population mechanics, and I think this is financial income. So yeah, like I said, there's lots that you can do in terms of like there are resources, there are buildings, there are units, there are cities. You can like there are things you can do. There's just not a lot within them. All right, so back to the battles here. We've got these cavalry charges. Again, there's this slow-mo option, which I'm not a massive fan of. I think it's actually something you control now that I think about it. And the player is just far too overpowered for me. I think he shot his own guy there. I think maybe I'm wrong, but that kind of, let's go back here for a second. I mean, I think so. That's quite funny. But like, there's a lot going on here that I really like too. You know, you've got these bodies in the distance that are persistent. You've got arrows and crossbow bolts flying through the air. You've got a huge engagement over there. There's something happening, you know, and it's big. And you're watching, you're observing, which I quite like. Actually, you're not getting too involved, and yet you're the commander directing. There's a lot here in the battles that I think have been developed nicely from a mechanical perspective. It's just the only area I'm not sure of is the animations and the pace, really. So you've got these sprites in the distance, which isn't great either, I would say. Yeah, I mean... Oh, you can change weapons? You can change weapons during a battle? That's quite cool. Interesting. And like I said, I mean, like in the middle of this fight, units are fighting each other. That's great. But in the kind of corners here, there's this weird sort of like rounding of the unit. It's not quite in formation. It's a bit kind of center focused. And the outliers are just kind of standing there and thrusting the air, which tells me, yeah, there's something that needs to be done as well to try and make things a little more even. And you've got people in the back that are just kind of standing around. Basically, I think things need to get mixed up a little bit here and not so rigid from the AI perspective. I mean, the visuals look stunning, though, you have to admit. I don't know, I'm not sure about this horn in the distance anymore. It's a little bit too frequent. It's a little too deep and bass heavy as well. Just a little note. I would probably change that a little bit and maybe add some variety of horns. And then here, there's some really good, interesting night battles. I don't think night battles were available last time I played. There's some nice fire going on. It's very dark, so you know, lighting I think is well done here in the night battles. Your kind of enemy cavalry can carry around torches as well, which is quite cool. Yeah, I really like what's going on here. And yeah, I think that's pretty much the end of this gameplay video. So yeah, I think that, overall, there's definitely been some progress in the game. The campaign still looks, I would say, a little bit bare bones in terms of what you can do with your settlements, with your cities, with your armies. Don't imagine it would be too difficult to have armies kind of be able to roam around the map, really. But yeah, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe it would be difficult. Obviously, I'm not a developer. It just feels a little bit limiting for the player in terms of what you can do here on the campaign. And then the battles, yeah, it looks definitely much better from a color, vibrancy. There's some really, really nice sound effects going on here. But the two things I kind of pick up are the pace of the battles are still quite fast. I would slow them down a bit in certain areas. There's a lot here that can be better, I think, from a pace perspective, which can help the animations be less clunky looking and more fluid. I think that cavalry has come a long way, but some of these animations again, movement, what happens during a battle when cavalry are just kind of standing around and then suddenly they're in lightning speed. Like there's not a lot of fluidity to what's going on here. And I really don't like this slow-mo aspect of it personally. I think that it's quite cinematic, cool, but I prefer realism over kind of spectacle. So I would rather have the pace slow down to a point where, yeah, you don't really need that slow-mo. The animations are good enough on their own, and you can kind of swing and get a hit or hit a shield, and the AI is a bit more reactive, and yeah, you have a bit more options, I think, from a combat perspective, especially if you're going for something that's somewhere in between, like a Bannerlord and a Kingdom Come Deliverance 2, which is a little more complex. So yeah, that's going to be it for today, guys. I really hope you've enjoyed this video and found it informative. If you did, give it a like, drop any thoughts or questions in the comment section below. As always, I'd love to hear your thoughts, your feelings about the game Voor De Kroon, how far it's come since its development first started, what you think about my thoughts and feedback, and some of the criticisms I have of the game currently in its early access state right now, where I think the direction of development could go to iron it out a bit, polish it. And yeah, I'd love to hear your own thoughts about the game and where you think it can go in the future as well. Subscribe to the channel for more videos just like this. And thanks for watching, guys. I'll see you next time.